Black Power. I want to thank everyone who's been supporting Comrade Mac these past couple weeks since his Queen Mother DORIS Gail Higgins made her transition. We went to the funeral yesterday and we learned a lot about this great and powerful woman, her contributions to her family, friends, and being the rock of her family. We also learned more about the strength of the family that our comrade brother MACCAPONE comes from. So thanking everyone again who has been supporting him and knowing from here forward he will need your continued support as many others who have also suffered great losses. This past week, the spirit of resistance was strong. First, we learned that the sister Kiari Harris, she is now going after the school and other individuals who attacked her, kidnapped her children. Some brothers are criticizing that move, saying we know the federal government is part of the problem, so why would she reach out to them? But the obvious answer would be because enough brothers aren't stepping up to give her support and alternative actions. So, idealistically, yeah, we could say things should be a certain way, but realistically, we have to do what we have to do. That's what Malcolm meant by any means necessary. So until more people step up to support her, she's fighting from the position she's in. We've also learned over the past couple weeks that this is now or has been a regular means of attack they have unleashed upon many people who have made the decision to pull their children out of public schools for various reasons, but we see the pattern that people are being punished for doing so. So again, some of y'all might not be out there in Buffalo, New York, but look around your community and you might very likely be able to identify some folks in your area who need similar support. Um, Also, there's another young brother, Tyshawn O'Connor. I just found out about this morning. He was separated from his mom about 2 years ago. Appears to be sort of similar circumstances, but objectively same situation. So um, those who can look more into that, but this is just one more angle of attack that we obviously need to communicate about more. As I said, it's been revealed that it's been an ongoing pattern, and whether some people are reaching out to white nationalist media to get their stories out, or whether they're just not communicating at all. Again, we have to take the lead on sharing these stories. But if you know people personally, try to get them to speak on it more. If they have been given a gag order, then you speak on it on their behalf. But yeah, it's a modern day kidnapping, and quite often they put children into situations where they will be further programmed to comply to the white nationalist agenda. We also saw the spirit of resistance out in Orange County, where the psychopath attacked the young group of students for being on his lawn. Eventually pulled out a gun, fired the gun, and more pigs came out and chose to charge the children for being attacked. So again, further evidence that this government isn't governing on our behalf, but the young folks retaliated, resisted, and very likely that cat might be moving out their community pretty soon. But this has been one of the things we have also been emphasizing for several years. We have to identify who and where these perpetrators reside. They come, terrorize, kill, destroy, kidnap, do all the violence they do, but then they get to go back and lay down and rest peacefully. Nah. Again, we are at war, so what is done unto us must be reciprocated onto those who are carrying out these acts. And like I was saying, brothers criticizing Sister Kiari, criticizing what happened out in Orange County a few weeks ago. Y'all was criticizing the Muslims for shutting down the airport, criticizing the immigrants for having a day without an immigrant, but at the end of the day, you're doing nothing. You know, if you were doing more, organizing more, engaged in more, then you would see there's really no need to criticize what other folks are doing, because you would be leading by example, which is another point Minister Malcolm pointed out to us. You know, to actually get people in motion, quite often you got to get in motion. But a lot of you just, again, sitting behind the keyboard criticizing folks are becoming more of a distraction. Um, you know, it's unfortunate. A lot of young people who are coming to the movement, or getting involved with movement, or getting in motion, or looking up to a lot of this these new social media misleaders. Again, if they're not giving you information on, or you know, putting out calls to actions, and they're just constantly yabbing about this or that, then you know it's a distraction. Because again, when you get suspended in no motion, that is part of the problem. So you know, really got to take that into consideration. Also, information came out about what's been going on in Chicago, and a couple points, you know, was making about that is using white nationalist media, because quite often they're asking questions and shaping the story to benefit their agenda. So we most definitely have to continue to use our own sources to put information out, but also, brothers, just exposing all the firepower, you know, they were in possession of. Not the best idea. And the pig towards the end, saying more often than not, brothers are snitching on each other, which is helping them, you know, capture folks, lock folks up. And again, we see every time they kill someone, I mean, just like what happened in Orange County, police showed up, they didn't even think about a fair investigation. They just automatically locked the kids up and protected one of their own. But on the opposite end, brothers just snitching each other out, giving up their own. So that most definitely is a major part of why we are continuing to lose. But also, you know, as we go off the grid more, we have to know they're sending more people in person amongst us to get the information that's not being shared off the grid. So we have to be very careful in who all, you know, is appearing all of a sudden, and what information they're being shared, and how well they can be vetted, who knows them, whether they come from, whether they've been doing prior, how much of their history is unaccounted for, how much of it is verified. But right now, that most definitely is being unleashed amongst us. So we have to be very thorough in what we're doing. You know, some newer people just feel like, oh, we all should unite and get along. But we see from Garvey to Malcolm to the Panthers, throughout gang banging and dope slinging, they have constantly used agents to intervene, interrupt, instigate, and create a lot of losses for us. So we have to be a lot more mindful of that, and act on that accordingly. As far as the economic situation this week, I just found out there is a black phone company now. I believe it's called Siam, SIAM. I will include information on that. From what I've seen so far, it looks like they are catering to the higher end market. You know, phones are a little bit up there, but you know, anybody's been doing the iPhone and other high end phones, most definitely consider using them as an alternative for your next phone and next service. At this point, I don't know anything about the quality that they're offering, but hopefully they on, you know, legit, and as more people support them, they can then start marketing to the lower end people who are using Obama phones and Boost Mobile and Metro PCS, and you know, go from there. But if not, you know, now it's a measuring point for other people who are in the tech industry. You know, come with your company next, and maybe you know you can get the other market that they're not capturing yet. But as far as building new political body or strengthening self-governance, the bottom line is the use of force. That is just where we can come up with a new political body, but it'd be no different from the black Democrats, black Republicans that exist now. You know, the few who actually go in there and fight for us one way or another get forced out. But quite often, most of them just sell out. So as we build a new governing body, we got to be real. We have to be real selective in who we put our support behind. Because again, some folks got the gift of gab and they can come around and, you know, get a lot of folks motivated and stimulated and inspired. And a few months, few years later, you find out they about nothing they was talking about. So right now, we need a stronger governing body to represent our interests. But, you know, those of you who hold a firm position have to be part of that. It's no longer waiting for somebody else to step up. You know, we are losing fourth quarter, couple minutes left in the game. So it's time for you to stand up and check in and help us push forward with what we're doing. Later on today, comrades will be out in Lamert with the Break Bread program. So again, we thank everyone who's been supporting and other folks who have been saying you want to get more involved. We need you. Last week, our brother had a seizure in the park. Thankfully, I set a couple other people who were trained in the medical field, knew what to do until the paramedics got there. But even then, you know, some of us didn't feel comfortable releasing the brother over to the paramedics. You know, a lot of them didn't really show up in the spirit of truly wanting, you know, to service the brother. But until we get stronger in that area, you know, we can't, you know, just do nothing or do something that would actually be worse. You know, was one of the things we were looking at. We really didn't know. But yeah, that's just one more area where we need to get stronger and, you know, salute everybody who's doing what you can. And we moving forward with it. All power to the people.